the end of every unit, your teacher has a chance to teach a lesson about other lessons or context to enhance. But what do you suppose our teacher has us do? He skipped a lesson, makes us present a digital LEQ. Elocution needs historical evidence, reasoning that can carbon advance, complex thesis that Dr. John P. Irish would admire. Then we drop this screencast like a single that is fire. Students create a screencast for you to like, subscribe, and share. We know you've had all the John Green and Heimler you can bear, but if we have the most views by 10 p.m. Eastern on the 5th day, we earn 500 bonus points with virtually guarantees an A. Without much more fanfare or audio, we present our digital LEQ.
Welcome, boys and girls, to another video here on our channel, and today we are going to be learning about the spread of epidemics. Let's get right to it. Alright, so I got two questions for you guys. Alright, first one. What were the differences between the spread of epidemics in the Americas in the 16th century and the Eurasia in the 14th century? Just think about that for a second. Alright, have you thought about it? Alright, cool. Well, some of the differences were the amount of diseases in each region, how the epidemic spread, and the effects that it had on the majority of the population at the time. Alright, if you got this, you're alright. Give yourself a pat on the back. Alright, second question. What were the similarities between the spread of epidemics in the Americas in the 16th century and in Eurasia in the 14th century? Give you a few seconds. You got your answer? All right, let's go. Well, some similarities were the preparation of the regions, high body counts, panicked reactions, and the belief in divine punishment. All right. So, the prompt that we're going to be discussing. We're comparing the spread of the epidemic diseases in the Americas in the 16th century with the spread of epidemic diseases in Eurasia during the 14th century. And that's one bloody picture because that's how it looked. Yeah, you don't want to live in that time, guys. All right. Our thesis. All right. So, we're going to get through this pretty quickly. It's a lot of words, right? So, some may say that the spread of epidemics such as the Black Plague in Eurasia was deadlier than the spread of epidemics in the Americas such as smallpox. However, the Amerindians, which were basically the Indians in America at the time, had no resistance against European diseases and the epidemics that killed Amerindians until almost 90% of their population was gone. Therefore, the spread of epidemics in the Americas during the 16th century was deadlier than the spread of epidemics in the Eurasia in the 14th century. Guys, this picture to the right, yeah, it's pretty scary, right? But that's what some people had to wear. Trust me, you did not want to live in this time, right? Imagine having to wear that. Horrible fashion trend. All right, here's some of our historical context. We have the spread of epidemics, which caused mass deaths and panic among individuals and their governments, all right? They just went crazy. There were also high death rates, and because of this, people decided that they were going to be more religious and start to follow God and everything. They just went crazy. Prevention techniques were practically non-existent also because they had little medical knowledge, and all the technology we have today and medicine knowledge, they did not have. Next thing, here's some similarities. As we talked before, both regions were unprepared. They both had low resistance. Guys, they never prepared for these diseases. They also had no knowledge of these epidemics and had little medical knowledge. So they also had high body counts. They panicked and just went crazy thinking, oh no, we're gonna die. Ah! And then last, there was divine punishment. The Europeans usually used this as an excuse to conquer people. All right, now to differences. In 14th century Eurasia, the Black Death was one of the most prominent diseases in the time. Silk Road and ports were how it was spread. And there was also more representation between, such as with the serfs. In 16th century Americas, smallpox and measles were some of the diseases at the time, but there were many more. They came from the Europeans and they were transferred to the Amerindians, and therefore the Amerindians' numbers were very weakened. Now, 16th century America's facts. Here's a picture of a 16th century Aztec drawing of the smallpox victims. All right, so this shows that smallpox was in Aztec society and showed how people witnessed, how people suffered, and how it spread, and how rapidly it infected people, and how it affected all different types of people. It was just a chaotic scene, guys. Now, onto a quote. On the night when the Aztecs drove Cortez and his men out of Mexico City, an epidemic of smallpox was raging in the city. The paralyzing effect of a lethal epidemic goes far to explain why the Aztecs did not pursue the defeated and demoralized Spaniards. Reasoning. It showed some of the effects on Native Americans. It showed how severely weakened they were and how they were easily conquered by Spain and other civilizations. It also showed how smallpox took over many giant civilizations such as the Aztec. 14th century facts. Quote, in men and women alike, at the beginning of the malady, certain swellings, either on the groin or under the armpits, waxed to the bigness of a common apple, and others to the size of an egg, some more and some less. These the vulgar named plague boys. This shows some of the symptoms of the Black Death. It was most prominently stayed in Europe. The symptoms were very well known, and their names were connected to the symptoms. And both men and women could get it. No one was safe from it. Quote, the sailors brought in their bones a disease so violent that whoever spoke a word to them was infected and could in no way save himself from death. Those whom the disease was transmitted by infection of the breath were stricken with pains all over the body. There was no way of preventing its ending in death. This showed how quickly people died, how the sick sailors, their symptoms, and how quickly they died, how hurtful it was that they had no prevention techniques and had older technology. Quote, responses were many and various, with panic, flight, and the mass burial of abandoned corpses all common. One consequence was the growth of religious guilds, which aimed to provide some level of security for people worried they would have no kin to attend to them in illness or remember after death. Reasoning for this, it shows the effects of the spread, how people panicked and fled and had mass burials for their people, and also some good things had the growth of religious guilds because it gave people security in such a chaotic time. All right, theme and analysis. First, we'll start with humans and environment. So, for humans and environment, the spread of disease shaped societies. The spread of epidemics shaped both the American and Eurasian societies. The populations decreased and the representation increased. The epidemics led to important changes that are still felt today. Can you guys think of some of them? All right. Cultural developments and interactions are also another thing. The spread of epidemics led to intensified religious beliefs and new cultural practices as societies adjusted to the significant change these epidemics brought us. Now, in conclusion of everything I just told you, epidemics cause mass panic, high body counts, and massive amounts of change in the societies for both regions. Differences in the impacts of epidemics for the regions caused the Americas to have deadlier long-term effects in the Native American population. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, and I hope you have a nice day.
Bye.